Hi, I'm Sonya White Jaguar. Welcome to a very special episode of White Jaguar Wednesdays, my semi-monthly series where I discuss spiritual subjects inspired by your questions. Today, I'm revealing the identity of a new spirit guide who's been working with Alan Rickman and me for the past year. I provided some clues in my last couple of newsletters. If you guessed that it's the American actor Richard Chamberlain, you guessed correctly. And he was also an artist. Welcome to my personal Richard Chamberlain art gallery. I'll get to that in a moment. I said there was a hint as to his identity in the free story I released last year, writing Alan Rickman's autobiography, a fan fiction romance. The hint was the Thorn Birds. Richard played Father Ralph in the incredibly popular TV miniseries in 1983. I remember when it came out. It was quite a phenomenon at the time. Richard was in other popular TV miniseries you might have seen, including the original Shogun, Centennial, and The Bourne Identity, which was a hint I dropped in the last newsletter. I don't know if you were aware that Richard was the original Jason Bourne. I didn't know that. I actually wasn't very familiar with his career while he was living, and I certainly didn't know he was an artist, but I did know who he was. Stay tuned until the end of this video. I'll share a message I channeled from Richard that he asked me to share with you. Then I'll invite him in and let him share his healing energy with you, like Alan has been doing in these videos. And if you're not receiving my newsletters, you can sign up on my website, sonyawhitejaguar.com. Alan shares inspirational messages in each newsletter, and Richard will be doing something similar soon. I've been sharing sneak peeks at an oracle card deck that I'm creating with Alan. An artist friend of mine is hand painting the artwork. I plan to release the completed deck later this year, as soon as I can. Okay, so how did all this get started with Richard? Well, Richard died on March 29 last year, just 2 days before his 91st birthday. The day after his death, I happened to open my internet browser on my computer, and there was a small article halfway down the page announcing Richard's death. It would have been easy to miss, and that was all I saw. If I hadn't seen that article, I would not have known he died. Immediately after I read it, Alan invited Richard in and introduced him to me. I was not expecting that. I didn't ask Alan to do that. He did it because he wanted to. He wanted me to meet Richard and invite him to work with us. Alan knew that Richard was someone special who had a lot to offer. By all accounts, Richard was a very nice man in this life. I think he was actually a lot like Alan. He was very talented. He was an actor and an artist, as I said. He was very classy. He was a consummate professional, and he was very generous and cared about the world. I'm not surprised that he's willing to do spirit guide work now in his new life in the higher dimension. Richard is now a Reiki master, like Alan. And as you know, I gave Alan all the Reiki attunements after his death in 2016. Last year, Alan gave all the attunements to Richard after his death. Richard told me recently that he was now ready for me to introduce him publicly as a spirit guide, so we agreed that I'd introduce him today as someone you can work with for guidance, just like Alan. Richard needed some time to heal and prepare first, so I waited until he was ready. I've always listened to Alan and followed his suggestions as to when and how to do things. I started this YouTube channel at Alan's suggestion back in 2022, so now I'm doing the same with Richard. I respect their wishes and their guidance. Richard has some ideas for things he'd like to do too. Not only does he do Reiki, but he also channels some new healing energy that's similar to Reiki. It's lovely. He'll be sharing that and teaching how to use it. I'll be launching a free meditation video series soon, and Richard will be heavily involved in that too. So more to come on all of that and more. Okay, so all these paintings were created by Richard. Aren't they gorgeous? All of these are prints with one exception. This one here, this is not a print. This is Richard's original painting. I won this during an auction recently. Last spring, I ordered 3 prints from Richard's website, and I ended up with all of these. I didn't ask for this. I was totally blown away. I thank those involved for their generosity and sending all these prints. I have no doubt that Richard guided the process. I'll talk about these pieces in more detail in future videos because they're all lovely and I want people to be able to see them and appreciate Richard's artistic talent. Richard was also a wonderful writer. He wrote this book, his memoir, which is titled Shattered Love. It was published in 2003. I read it last year and I could not put it down. I highly recommend it. Richard was a very spiritual man, and I'm very impressed with his self-awareness. His spirituality and personal growth really shine throughout the book. It's a great read. The book is available on Amazon. I'll drop a link in the description box below if you'd like to order it. When Alan brought Richard to me the day after his passing, I saw him in my mind's eye standing in brilliant white light. Like Alan, he presented as an older man with gray hair, and his heart center was beaming love. Richard brought tears to my eyes without even saying a word. He stood there staring at me with his big blue eyes, I think just trying to get a sense of who I was. So I introduced myself and said I do a lot of spiritual work, and then I don't know why I said this to him. I just felt inspired to say it. But I told him that my introduction to metaphysics was this book by Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind. If you're familiar with the New Thought movement, then you know who Ernest Holmes is. I often recommend this book to people new to metaphysics because it's a great place to start. Anyway, then Richard's big eyes got even bigger. He said nothing, but I could tell that Ernest Holmes meant something to him. I was sitting at my computer, so I got up and led Richard to my bookcase in the dining room and showed him the bookshelf where all these Ernest Holmes books are sitting side by side. Besides the Science of Mind, I have How to Change Your Life. This is a great book. Creative Mind is another one. And Love and Law. This is a great book too. I love Ernest Holmes' work. So then I told Richard that I taught Reiki, and now I'm working with Alan and other spirit guides and the projects we're working on. And Richard has basically remained an active, constant presence ever since, just like Alan. Eventually, Alan gave him the Reiki attunements, and now Richard is a Reiki master. He's just as powerful as Alan. I'll talk more about Richard's memoir in a future video, but I'd like to share just a few sentences with you now. I was shocked when I read this passage last year. Richard wrote on page 7, just a few pages into the book, he's talking about his father. And he wrote, "A strapping farm boy from Indiana, Dad was doing well at Indiana University when a football leg injury stopped him cold. The bone became infected, and after unsuccessful treatment, Dad moved to California to die," he said. In Los Angeles, Dad met Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Church of Religious Science. They became friends, and Dad credited Holmes, a gifted metaphysician, with spiritually healing his damaged leg. Isn't that amazing? So that's why Richard's eyes got even bigger when I mentioned Ernest Holmes to him. That's why I felt compelled to mention Ernest Holmes to him. It was a synchronicity meant to let Richard know he could trust me. And then Richard's book gave me confirmation that he had known who Ernest Holmes was in this life. In fact, Richard mentions Holmes a few times in his book, and he even says he had known Holmes personally. He attended Ernest Holmes' church. Okay, I have so much more to say about Richard, but I think that will suffice for today. There's lots more to come. If you have a question for Richard that you'd like me to answer in a future video, you can leave a comment below or email me at sonya@sonyawhitejaguar.com. Okay, now I'd like to read a message that I channeled earlier from Richard. Okay, here's what Richard said. "I'm very pleased to be doing this with you. I didn't know while I was on my spiritual journey in this life that it would one day lead to something like this. I know you see a powerful healer before you. Learning these techniques takes time, practice, and a lot of patience. Don't worry if you feel like you can't do it perfectly right away. But also know that it doesn't require a master's degree or a doctorate and years of study. You are all healers. I have a lot I'd like to share with you, both in fictional form and through teachings like this. I will work with Sonya to share what I can through her. But I'm willing to do this with anyone who has the time and interest. These are not easy times, and I know people are looking for genuine healers and teachers. I'll do my best to share what I can from this side of the veil. I'm not perfect, and I'm still striving to better myself and clear my karma and help people as best I can. The most important message I can impart at this time is this: strive to always do your best and better yourself. Tomorrow is a new day. If you were disappointed in yourself today, no worries. Get up tomorrow and strive to do better tomorrow. Do what you can to help those around you. It doesn't require a lot of money or time, just a willingness to see people with an open heart and a willingness to do the work of universal love. Okay, thank you, Richard. I could feel his big heart as I was channeling that earlier, and I can feel it now too. He's really a lovely man. Okay, now I'll give Richard the opportunity to share some healing energy with you so you can see what he has to offer and you can decide if you'd like to work with him. Okay, so go ahead and make yourself comfortable and see what you experience. Okay, now I'm asking Richard Chamberlain, the American actor who died on March 29, 2025, to join us. Richard, please send healing energy to all the viewers of this video for their highest and greatest good, whatever they most need at this time. Encase them in divine love, harmony, joy, truth, peace, and enlightenment. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I could feel that. I could feel an enormous amount of energy around my heart chakra and even around my head. His energy is different than Alan's. I think it's a different frequency. It's very healing. It's very deep, but it's a different frequency. I hope that you felt something. I would love to hear what you felt. So if you're comfortable sharing, please leave a comment. As I said, there's so much more to come. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and sign up for my newsletter on my website, SonyaWhiteJaguar.com. You'll get exclusive sneak peeks at my works in progress and more messages from Alan and Richard. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.